everyone, I have a quick fix for you today, and that is reducing visible seams when you're rejoining two pieces of your Decovil Light Stabilizer. If you use Decovil in your sewing, you'll know that a lot of the time it comes in these quite short pieces. The height of this piece is only 17 inches, which means when you're cutting a piece of Decovil that needs to be bigger, you often can't fit it in this orientation, and you have to unroll a lot of your bolt to be able to cut a big enough piece, and that gets kind of wasteful. So I'm going to show you a way to seamlessly join two pieces of Decovil together so that you can better utilize what you have and have a lot less waste. Some places do sell Decovil that is longer than 17 inches, and obviously there are alternatives out there these days, but this is the one that's fairly easy to get. You can grab that from Amazon or Joann. Sometimes it's a little limiting that it is only 17 inches tall. So I'm just going to show you a little trick that I use to get the most out of the Decovil. So let's get going. I want to show you a few comparisons of different ways that you can join your Decovil so that you can see how it is different with this method I'm going to show you today. First, I'm going to show you a common method, which is using your pinking shears. So if you have two scraps of Decovil and you line them up, and then just clip that with your pinking shears, and then you're going to line up the lines and then fuse that onto your material. I've got that one ready to go. Another way is if you have two straight edges on your Decovil, and you can line those up, and I'm going to fuse these all at once. Another option would be to have an angled cut, which you would fuse like that. And then the last option would be to have some overlap, which could be either a straight or angled cut. Like this. So I'm going to go and fuse those so that you can see how they look from the front. Okay, I've got all of that Decovil fused on. This one you can see shifted a little bit. This one also has shifted a little bit despite my best attempts to keep it together. This straight line also has shifted, and the one that is overlapped is still overlapped, but you can see from the front it's a little more obvious. And even these ones, you can see the demarcation between the two pieces of Decovil is just a little more obvious because there's that small gap there. So these are all fine, but I've got a quick little trick that will help you get a really perfect seam in your Decovil so that you will hardly be able to see where your join is. What we're going to do is grab our painter's tape, our rotary cutter, and our ruler, and our two scraps of Decovil. So let's say that these are the two pieces that I want to join up. Let's say I want an inch tall piece of Decovil that I want to put in the center of this final piece. What we're going to do is lay the pieces next to each other with the same side up. So I've got the matte side up, sticky side down. You're going to lay one piece on top of the other piece, and then take your rotary cutter and you're going to cut both pieces at the same time on an angle, making sure that you're cutting only through the section where they overlap. You can choose how deep or shallow you want that angle to be. I find that the deeper the angle, the more subtle the join is, but any is fine. And then I'm just going to slice that. And now when you remove the scrap from either end, this angle here, because we cut it at the exact same time, is going to line up perfectly. And now what you're going to do is grab your painter's tape, and you're just going to put that over that join between the two pieces of Decovil. And then that will hold those two pieces together so that they are perfectly lined up. And then you put that on the back of your vinyl piece. Now this is too long, so I'm just going to trim that down. These are the scissors that I have handy. It's the only reason I'm using pinking shears. And now I'm going to take this over to my heat press, and I'm going to fuse that Decovil on and show you how it works differently when they're stuck together with that painter's tape. That's now fused on, and if I remove this painter's tape, it comes off quite easily from the back there. you can see that the Decovil has lined up really, really well at that edge. You can barely even tell that there is a join there. And when you flip it over from the front, you also can't tell that we've joined together two smaller pieces. In comparison to these other pieces, and I'll get some close-ups for you. This one that we joined together using the painter's tape to keep everything in place just has a much less obvious join than the other methods that we used for joining together a Decovil. So that's a really quick, easy tip for when you have a pattern that calls for a wider or longer piece of Decovil and you either don't have enough left on your roll or your roll is just never going to be big enough to start with, to get a nice seamless join between your pieces of Decovil. So, hope that helps. Thanks everyone.